Hey, there you
Hey,
are.
how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Not too bad. Can you see me okay?
Come up with the camera slightly. I'm kind of cut off at your eyes. There we go. Perfect. That's better.
Sorry, I'm a bit new to this.
I've got you in shot now. Awful weather outside. I was hoping that the rain wasn't going to interfere with our chat here. It's just been pounding through the windows.
Yeah, I think we're doing okay, but yeah, I know what you mean about the weather. We've made
Oh,
it this far.
excellent. So, Josh, how are you finding working from home at the moment?
It's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge. I've been talking a lot with my friends and the team at Joshua Kane, just talking about sort of this sort of what I'm calling like this new reality.
Yeah.
We're not necessarily going to go back to the old reality. So what's this new normal that we're going to find? And
Yeah.
I think just trying to take every day as it comes. I think work's really stressful. Obviously, like my whole world's been turned upside down. Um, we had so many weddings that we were in the process of tailoring just
Yes.
before this sort of lockdown hit us. So there was unfortunately so many of my customers who we're mid making a suit for that's now on hold, and of course we've been in contact with them, and all of their weddings are pretty much postponed, or they're being pushed back, or they're looking for further dates. So honestly, for
Yeah.
them, my heart is really with them. It's really a stressful time for them. So we're just trying to kind of do everything we
Absolutely.
can.
I mean, the calls we've had have just been so upsetting for some of them because they've planned a summer wedding and the venue, they haven't got space for them. So now they're having to change it for a winter wedding and they're having to
Yeah.
change the theme and the outfits and everything. But firstly, before you tell us how you're working online, just give everyone a little bit of background to the Joshua Kane label and how you started
Yeah,
and
of course, of
exactly
course.
what you do.
Yeah, it's a bit of a fun story. I think a lot of people that sort of followed me know it really really closely because I'm really open and honest with my sort of projects and where we've come on. But especially for sort of your followers just joining us,
Yes,
I
definitely.
started about 6 years ago in my bedroom. I was an independent as an independent designer. Before that, I was a menswear tailor and designer for Sir Paul Smith, Burberry Prawson, working with Christopher Bailey, Brooks, lots of different houses all around the world before starting my own label. Yeah, and as I said, I started 6 years ago with my own collection in my bedroom and sort of grew it from there, one customer at a time, staying independent, staying British made, British manufactured, British produced, and made and designed and sold from here. So and then there's
And
lots of
that's
stuff
the
in
key, I
between.
think. So many people now are so, they're looking for sustainable brands, they're looking for ethically sourced, British made. And so I think you as a designer have really got a foothold there. And I know a lot of our customers as well, they really do love sourcing things from this country. So that is really
Great.
proud. So tell me a little bit about how you're working online now. I know I briefly spoke about it the other day, but you've got a really great service where you've got an almost instant answering service.
Yeah, I think like I was just saying a second ago, trying to keep the situation at the moment as fun as possible, I think is really important. There's so much doom and gloom in the news, and everyone knows someone who's ill, and I think that's just a reality. And I think
Yeah.
when it comes to work at the moment, I'm trying to keep everything as fun as possible. It is just tailoring. It is everyone's really special day, but I think if we can make it fun and light and interesting as possible, I think that's really my directive as much as possible. So yeah, we just initiated a little live chat service on our online store. So people checking into the website, who have questions about tailoring or questions about how they can get something made or how long it takes to get made or
Yeah.
where the fabric's from, how the suit's made. There's a huge amount of misconception. I probably think in tailoring more than any other industry.
Yeah.
The words bespoke and made to order, all this kind of like language and terminology is thrown around at the customer. And if I was the customer, if I hadn't trained in it, I'd be like, I don't know what that is. Like, what does it mean? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, someone talk to me in a language that I
Yeah.
understand. I
I
think
think I
that's
think when
always
it
been
comes
my approach.
yeah, definitely. But I think when it comes to a wedding, when someone says a bespoke dress, the girls are always like, oh, amazing. But then when it comes to the guys as well, and we have to focus on the guys as well, a
Yeah,
bespoke suit for them, this suit they could potentially have for the rest of their life. Do you know what I mean? So
100%.
how do people start how long does the bespoke suit process start to start with? Like, how long should a groom come to you before he's getting married?
Do you know what? It's such an interesting question, and I can give you a whole bunch of different answers. But to put perspective, we have suits that we're turning around in 5 weeks, and then we have suits that we're working for 12 months in advance. So my particular service is a bit different because we create all of our fabrics. I create all of our fabrics ourselves. That's one of our like unique aspects. I think when you begin that journey and you go to all the different tailoring places and you want to find a fabric that represents you, I think that's really, really important to find a fabric that represents you before you even look at the shape of the suit.
Yeah, definitely.
And once you found that fabric, then that sort of journey begins. And because we create all of our own fabrics, you can't find them anywhere else. So that process for me starts a long time in advance. I mean, we have fabrics we're creating specifically for some people's special events. That obviously has a huge lead time on it. But people that go to our online store, visit the store and see a fabric they fall in love with, and they're like, that's the one I want for my wedding, but my wedding's not for 12 months. What we tend to say is if that's the one, and very much the same way with the ideology of the female, and like knowing the dress is the one, and when you know it's that, then we allow people to order it. And what we do is we just stagger the tailoring process with longer times in between fittings to ensure that when it comes to, you know, a month before the big day, the groom or bride, if it's a suit, which we're doing a huge amount of, the suit fits perfectly at the point where they take it away, and you know, and it's perfect.
Perfect. What would you say is the most popular kind of fabrics that are used for grooms or for brides for the wedding suit themselves? Do people go for quite traditional fabrics or kind of more outlandish colours?
I think what I'm really known for is more of the outrageous designs, but I personally love doing the classics too. I'd say it's about a 50-50 split between doing really like bold designs in silk and jacquard and lots of really great colors. And then the other 50% would be finding a way to make the classic look fun. So like a black
just a little twist or something different.
Yeah, exactly. A black suit with a little bit of subtle tonal pattern, or something that when someone puts it on, they feel really special, specifically for the guys who really want to feel and look good, but they don't want to take attention away from the bride or the other half. You know, I think that's really important thing to, you know, find where the classic tradition is and then just play with it a little bit.
After all, it is about the bride, isn't it? Let's not forget that.
Well, exactly.
We've just got a question come in here. Do you ever make wedding dresses? Have you ever made a wedding dress? I used to work in bridal wear, and this is really popular for us.
Yeah, I mean, I have made dresses before. When it comes to weddings, what we found we're really popular is doing a suit for the bride. So I've used like white Duchess satin silk and then tailoring like a beautiful suit in traditional wedding dress fabrics and then making a suit. So you find this perfect amalgamation between what the suit represents in structure and then the traditional fabrics that you normally associate with the wedding dress.
Yeah, wow, that sounds amazing. Now, people can also come to you to buy from the ready-to-wear collection as well. What was your theme behind this current collection?
The current collection I have in store is Mythical Creatures, which was a lot of fun, and that showed just at the end of last year. And that collection will be in store for 12 months, and then we'll follow on with another runway. Having said that, the world's a little bit upside down at the moment, so we're still trying to find our feet on what comes next anyway. But yeah, Mythical Creatures, I think I like escapism and ideology and like all these crazy like mythical type inspirations to try and make clothing as fun as possible and then make those designs fall in line with this theme and sort of variations of it.
Yeah, amazing. And do you have one favorite piece out of the collection that you like yourself?
That's tough. That's like asking me to pick a favorite child, like a father with like 25 children.
You could do it. You could do it.
Do you know what? There's so many times I've said it's that one, and then I've changed my mind and said it's that one. I have a favorite runway look. I have a favorite men's suit. One of my favorite men's suits was the red silk jacquard roses. We did a dégradé of roses, so it was probably one of the most complicated fabrics I designed, but the roses changed color from top to bottom, and it was a 2-meter long fabric repeat. So it was a very complicated fabric, and then when it came to cutting the suit, you had to match all the roses in all the different places, and yeah, it was complicated, but definitely a fun challenge.
Wow. So you originally started out in menswear. What made you design women's wear as well? What was were a lot of women coming in asking for the suits, wearing men's suits? Or
yeah, I mean, I've designed some women's wear in previous jobs that I mentioned in places that I'd worked in a small amount. But I think I love women's wear just as much as I love men's. I almost don't see the difference in many places. But I always specifically design for the body. And I think it's really about the personality for me. When I meet someone really inspiring, I kind of just get a feeling from them, and I want to then create something for them, be it man or woman, it doesn't really matter. And we had a lot of female customers back when I first opened the store, when I took the showroom from my bedroom to the store, my first little shop in Shoreditch. A lot of female customers were like, I love your designs, can we buy something? And we had like maybe 5 ready-to-wear suits. And I was like, well, why don't we just take the sleeves off this men's suit? We'll add an extra dart. We'll take it apart. We'll re-put it back together, and it'll fit you perfectly. And a few females trusted us, and then we made a suit, and it really gave birth to the women's collection way before I wanted to do it. I wasn't ready to do it, but the demand was there. So, you know, I found a way to just put a few little women's suits in here and there. And then I think about a year later, we had the first woman on the catwalk show. And that grew what is into now like kind of 50-50 men's and women's tailoring.
Amazing. We've got another question here. It says, I love the suit you made for Brittanelle. How did you come about working with her?
She's really, really cool person. She actually sought me out. She sent me a message and said, I was coming to London. I'd love to visit the store. She'd seen my designs, I think maybe through a friend of hers. Through a mutual friend me and her had. I think it was a customer of mine had maybe forwarded my Instagram to her, and then she saw it and she loved it, and then me and her were just messaging backwards and forwards, and then she was in London. Then we sort of hung out. I showed her the shop, then we went for some drinks together, and then, you know, she just came back to me the day after, and then and I've measured her up and ordered something.
Amazing. Now, I know we've seen a lot of your garments on the red carpet as well. Who's been your favorite celebrity to dress?
Again, that's such a hard question. I could probably throw a top 5.
Go on, top 5.
You know, there's so many people that I've managed to work with and been really super fortunate that they've come and sort me out. But you know, I would say like a good proportion of them that I've built really good relationships with, and I think that's really fun. At the end of last year, we did a few suits for Sir Rod Stewart for his Wembley tour in the UK.
I could so see Rod in your suits.
We did.
That's a meeting of mine, isn't it?
Some gold jacquard tailoring for him. He's just one of the most inspirational characters. So flamboyant, so charismatic, and I think I love that when someone that's so celebrated for what they do just walks into my shop, no appointment. You know, just he'd heard about me, was driving past, stopped, got out, and wanted to have a chat. And just
was that how he found you? Amazing.
I think a friend of his had been in. It's very much like kind of a word of mouth type sort of spread that goes with my work. I think maybe a friend of his had worn something and seen it, and then he'd seen it and just wanted to come in and get a vibe and sort of. And he saw it, and he was just such a wonderful person. Likewise, Asa Butterfield, a really good friend of mine. I was on a photo shoot where I met him. And I've ended up making him suits for probably the last 4 years, maybe 3.5, 4 years. And he's obviously a tremendous actor and a really amazing person and a good friend of mine. And then probably one of my favorites, because I'm really biased. As a kid, I loved Spider-Man. Like I was the biggest Spider-Man fan ever, like probably all boys growing up. And I got to make some suits for Tom Holland for his Avengers premiere. And obviously he played Spider-Man in the film. So, you know, that was kind of like a really wonderful thing for me. Making a suit for Spider-Man was like kind of like a childhood dream. So that was kind of fun.
Amazing. That's so amazing. Absolutely fantastic. So tell me, anyone that you haven't dressed that you'd like to dress? Anyone that you could see the Joshua Kane label on that hasn't already worn it?
Do you know what? Again, a really good question. You're killing me today. How do I answer this? I think that the most honest answer is I don't really kind of look out in that way, because it's so difficult, because everyone who I work with currently and who have come to me, I'm super fortunate to have worked with such amazing people. For me, I've ticked every box and 100 others that I would ever want. But in terms of people I would love to be in the same room as, to get to meet and kind of find out if we work well together, Johnny Depp's been at the top for a while. A lot of people always make this sort of connection, like, oh, I bet you know him. because I've tailored some of his friends. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
you should meet him. They're like, you'd really get along. And
And
I'm
you're
like,
like,
well, I
okay.
haven't met him yet. So maybe one day I will, and
Yeah.
maybe that kind of will go full circle. Then me and him already hit it off. But who
Amazing.
knows? Maybe he won't like me, so I don't know.
Well, we can see, can't we? Now tell me, the guys that we have come to us for suiting are always really nervous about the bespoke process, because a lot of them really want something special, but they're a bit nervous about coming into store. They don't necessarily want to bring the wife with them, or wife to be, should I say. So what actually happens when they come into store? What's
think,
the
do you know what? My process is very different to a lot of people. If someone makes an appointment, I'll let them come in, make them feel comfortable, offer them a beverage, tea, coffee, Prosecco, champagne, whatever they want, and then just let them lead the show. It's my environment, but it's their appointment. If they and just let them find what feels comfortable with them. It's very, very, very laid back in my studio. Although a lot of people are like, "Wow, it looks so scary," and you've worked with all these people. I like to think that, you know, the person coming in, that personality needs to feel comfortable and they need to enjoy the experience. And I think I just let them lead it. And then I kind of pick up on what they say. If someone gives me a reference of what they like, I'll show them a version of what I do that I believe is similar to what they're saying. Yeah. And I think the customer leads it, and I can just guide them and use my language and my knowledge to try and create exactly what they have in their mind, but they don't necessarily have the ability to draw it on paper.
Yes, exactly. Okay, we've got another question coming in here. How did you get the idea for the Art of Expression film? It's amazing.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad people have watched that. That's really fun. That's from a few years ago. I like to use short films and like mixed media to kind of tell our brand message, and that message was a love story. And I wanted to use two made up characters, which I used my friends to play out to an actor and an actress. And I wanted to show there was sort of a few different levels of it, but I wanted to show how close the brand was to people's thoughts and feelings, if that makes sense. And I wanted to use my clothes to reflect this love story, and their clothes change as it goes throughout the story. And it's a cool little like 13-minute short film. It was like a fun project, but yeah, I guess I wanted to show how the brand is more than just clothes. I guess that would be my cleanest answer I can give you.
Excellent. Okay, and one more. Are you considering working on costume design at all?
Yeah, I'm doing loads already, actually. So a costume, we're sort of back to back with projects. We've got I think 3 TV shows on Netflix at the moment where I've done costume design. One show coming out at the end of this year. Well, it was set to come out at the end of this year. God knows when it's coming out now. Where I've done all the main characters fully bespoke costume designs. So
really?
Yeah.
What's
so I can't say at the moment, not until it's out. But when it's out, I can say. But I've worked with I worked on a show called Frontier, the series 2, which was Jason Momoa who starred in that, and we designed some outfits for him about a year and a half ago. That was really cool. And obviously he's Aquaman in like that whole superhero universe. So he was a really amazing. He was one of my favorite people to meet as well. Like he's very, very high up there. He was a big personality. So yeah, and there's all these little things that we've done that that aren't necessarily kind of in the forefront of people's vision, but yeah, we've done them and we've worked on them. So yeah, costume is a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Now also tell me about your casual collection as well. I mean, your leather jackets are amazing, and I know a lot of our brides also talk about leather jackets. They like to sling it over a dress, but they just look so well tailored and fitted. You know, there's nothing worse. And sometimes with a leather jacket, they're so boxy and they don't fit at all, and they're just flinging around. So tell us, how did that come about?
Again, just like I feel like it's another lifetime ago, but a lot of my experience is like everyone sees the suit and they're like, "You're the suit guy, you're the bespoke guy." You know, when I'm walking around, I'm like, "Yeah, I am," but like, there's so much more to it. Like I've just said in that, it's more the brand is more than just clothes. For me, it's much bigger. It's about it represents what British made is. It represents what British manufacture is, and I'm really vocal on I think the importance of being an independent designer, and making things in England as much as possible and where possible. And what goes with that is just more than just a suit. And like, as we've been evolving, I've just been introducing these things that are just the same vision and same passion I have, but in other product categories. It could be a t-shirt just with our iconic logo on it that I just feel is a beautiful print rendition of what the suit represents. And when it comes to leather, I know how I want my leather jacket to feel, because it's just designed with my mentality, which is I want it structured and tailored, and I want it to sit on a coat hanger and feel like a suit of armor, because I think that's what that feeling the leather jacket gives. So it's kind of just my sort of embodied version of a suit, but in that biker jacket.
Yeah, I mean, they do look absolutely gorgeous. I haven't seen them up close and personal, but yeah, they do look beautiful. Another question, where do you get your inspiration from?
I would say two good sources, which is mainly historic references fused with sort of personal experiences. I always say I'm quite sort of, how do I best describe this? I suck up inspiration from all of my friends, conversations, their life experiences, people around me. I like to listen. I like to kind of read body language. And when people around me are doing really amazing things, I always use that to kind of inspire my work.
Amazing. Okay, now also you've just been appointed Ambassador for Fashion and Arts in the UK.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So what does that role encompass?
It's through a really good friend of mine called Rebecca. And I think what she really wanted to do was put a series of people together that are really passionate about what they do, and have really strong beliefs in what they do. And she asked me to sort of talk about being an independent designer, and again, the importance of it, the importance of making things in the UK, and talk about a series of other sort of issues that it comes with being in the fashion industry. You know, there's a lot of actually really amazing things changing in the fashion industry now. I'm not the biggest supporter of the fashion industry. I think the fashion industry is actually super negative, and it produced a lot of waste and can be really bad and really uninclusive. And I don't really like the psychology that goes behind the fashion industry about making people feel bad about not being able to be, I don't know, important enough to be invited to a runway show. And I've always been trying to sort of, within my ability, trying to change aspects of that.
You know what? So I totally agree with you with that. It's the snobbery behind Fashion Week and who gets to go here or where, and it's like it shouldn't be like. But you know what though? Maybe this time now is going to change this altogether.
I think it's great. I think you're right. And what I'm seeing is like a lot of the fast fashion brands that don't look to necessarily do the right thing when it comes to, you know, they're all about producing clothes and selling them off in the volume. You know, they're the people that are kind of suffering now, because they're the people that don't necessarily induce brand loyalty. And I think brand loyalty is when you stand for something and then when you really stick up for it. And for me, like if someone wants to buy something from me, that's incredible, because they really they like what I stand for. And, you know, we try and stay as true to that as possible. But it, you know, it's a really difficult time, but it's changing. I'm really interested to see where it goes.
I'm excited. Okay, another question. What would you recommend for accessories to complement your bespoke suits?
Well, the first thing I would say is, who's the question? What are they? And what do they want? You know, it's got to be personal. It's got to be a reflection of what that person wants to look like. Whereas I might want to wear a hat and a flower in my lapel, and, you know, maybe a colorful waistcoat. Someone else might just want something really somber and just like a simple slim necktie, you know, and a straight handkerchief. I think it's got to be really tailored to how that person wants to think and feel. What you don't want as a groom to look in the mirror and just feel like it doesn't represent you. And that is the first and foremost rule. It's got to feel like just a reflection of that person.
You know what? We hammer that home time and time again. It's like, you don't need to be someone else on your wedding day. You just need to be the best possible version of yourself. It's like, don't try to be someone else.
Yeah, I want someone to be at the end of their wedding day and think like, I don't want to take it off because I feel so good. Like, that's my goal.
Yes, I agree with you. Just got a repetition of some questions here.
No problem.
Is fashion an extension of yourself?
I would say my work is not necessarily fashion. Like my work is 100% authentic. It's definitely like literally my mind on paper, then stitched into fabric and made into clothes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just to summarize, what would you say makes a Joshua Kane suit so distinctively Joshua Kane?
I think that it's got to be about the fabric. You know, it's the starting point for everyone. It's where the fabric comes from, the ideas behind the fabric, and the reason why that fabric jumped out to whoever's picking it. Because there's something within that, be it the color, the boldness of the pattern, or the subtlety of the pattern, or the uniqueness of it. Like that's the starting point, I think, with every single suit. And when whatever that is the reason why someone fell in love with it.
Amazing. Josh, we could sit here and talk for hours. I've got so many more questions to ask you. But anyone who's watching who does have any other questions for Josh, do please DM us and we will get them to him. And anyone that would like to contact Josh for a bespoke appointment for a wedding suit, then either come via us or directly to Josh. This interview will go up on our blog now as well, and you'll have all the links and where to go and how to get there. Josh, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for
Have a
having me.
lovely day.
You too. See you later.